Hey everybody, welcome to the Friday edition of World Sports Daily. Easy for me to say. Um, Amedeus and our buddy Sean here with you. Guys, a lot of stuff going on this weekend. NFL, there's all kinds of key soccer games going on. There's a little bit of everything. There's golf is back. So there you go. There's even tennis, Amadeus, in Adelaide. So we got all kinds of fun things to talk about. So I guess we'll kick it off talking soccer because there's some entertaining games starting, as a matter of fact, later today, right, John?
Yeah, you got the FA Cup starting today, third round. I mean, look, the FA Cup started with 732 teams back in August, but let's be honest, nobody cares about those early, the early preliminaries. It's like the preliminary rounds of the qualification for the Champions League when the team from Gibraltar is playing the team from like Liechtenstein and stuff. So now as the Premier League teams come in, and it's 60. There's 64 teams left at this point. When it gets to the regular first and second round, it's always interesting. But now the big teams come in, and there's some pretty interesting matchups. Excuse me. Sunday there's Manchester City plays Chelsea. We just watched that yesterday. So, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe you didn't watch it because you're not getting 2 hours of your life back if you did. But yes, it's the oldest tournament in the world. It started in 1871. It's a huge tournament. People, they still. If you win the FA Cup, it's a big deal. It's a day out at Wembley. The semifinals are now at Wembley. It's a pretty big tournament to win. Fuel caution. Hey, fuel caution. Hold on. We got my EMMY will be in later here. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different things going on.
So with regard to the FA Cup, where would you rank it in trophies to be had by by the key clubs there in the UK?
Look, I mean, I want to win the Champions League and the Premier League, but it's
third or fourth.
Yeah, it's probably third. I mean, look. Come on, I got Anne-Marie wants to say hi. She got the
Anne-Marie, good to see you again.
Glasses on. There you go. Fuel caution. She's got the glasses on. She wears them all day now. So, but yeah, I think I would say third behind those other ones. Any European trophy obviously is big. If you go through, it's hard, man. It's hard to win the FA Cup because when you look at the history of it, Chelsea's been there 5 of the last 6 years and only won one time. Manchester City, the greatest team ever assembled, apparently, has one trophy in the last 10 years. They won that, it's 6-0, but they don't even get to finals. It's hard. It's hard to get there. Manchester City, they've been there. In 2019, they beat Watford 6-0, but they lost to Wigan in 2013. They won one in 2011, but that's their only time they've been there. And this is a team that is 3 squads deep. You have to remember, we keep talking about this. Other than that, you got to go back to 1980 when they were in it. So it's not always, the deepest squad. It helps, but it takes a little bit of luck. Like Chelsea seems to prioritize this tournament. Arsenal seems to prioritize this tournament. This year, I don't think they will. Arsenal might not. Chelsea might, because that might be their only way they're getting into Europe at this point. But it's a great tournament, and then you have these, and they have the replays that happen every once in a while, and the little teams get the big boost and they get to play. I'm not sure what replays they're doing this year, but it's a pretty cool tournament.
And obviously, it's worth watching.
Yeah, Amedeus, I know you don't like the cups are tough to bet because you just don't know who's gonna show up. You don't know some of these teams' motivation. Like some of these teams we talked about yesterday, like Everton. If I was Everton today, I want no part of winning the game. I just want to. I'm gonna throw my backups out there today. Get knocked out. I mean, maybe you win, but I don't want to win the game because when you're trying to survive in the Premier League, you don't want to have to keep running players out because it gives you a chance. Extra games give you a chance to be injured. If you're out of all these other things and you can only focus on your other games while all these other teams have to rotate, you have a better chance to win. So, it's tough. You don't know what teams' motivations are. Like Everton's not going to win the tournament. So, Manchester United could, but the big teams usually win it of late. But it's hard to see. Some teams take it seriously, some teams don't. So,
Well, so basically, the FA Cup starts, but there's other leagues that are back. So, what are some of the things you guys want to be watching this weekend that don't have to do with the FA Cup?
which one are you targeting, Amadeus?
I mean, there is some La Liga, I guess. Obviously, you got the Saturday morning match, it's Villarreal and Real Madrid. Real Madrid's coming in as a plus 105, which is interesting. Yeah, they're plus 105 on the road in Villarreal, but I mean, I think the line just speaks towards their form lately. Like if you look at their last few games, they've been barely scraping by, and a lot of their wins have had their goals coming in the last 10 minutes. They need to cut that out.
I think they just have to. Yeah, look, they're in so many of these different competitions here. I think you got to start prioritizing some of this stuff. Obviously, they prioritize La Liga, and also. Where's Villarreal in the table? I just looked at that table. I think they're Villarreal 7th right now. They're not terrible at. They only played 6 home matches. That's ridiculous. I don't understand that. So they're actually not terrible at home. They've only lost once. They're 4-1-1 at home. So their home form hasn't been bad. Real Madrid obviously has the best away form in the whole league. I mean, they've picked up 21 points from 8 away matches, which is clear of Barcelona and anyone else. So they're very good on the road. They find ways to win games 1-0. In those in tough games. So that's interesting. Maybe they can find a way to win that at plus money.
Yeah, and then you also got Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. Barcelona as a plus 130 on the road as well. That one's on Sunday afternoon. So that's an interesting one. That's probably one I'm going to watch, the Atletico Madrid and Barcelona.
Yeah, that's a pretty big game, I think. I never know what to think of Atletico Madrid. I mean, clearly it's terrible at its finest. They want to win every game. I think Felix leaves at some point. He's not going to play because they're just trying to leave on loan. Hopefully, goes to United. But Barcelona. They're not. I don't know if Lewandowski. I guess Lewandowski's back. I don't know how good they are. I think there's some pretty interesting games this weekend. When you look at they have the the Eredivisie's back. Serie A. There's 3 games on Saturday, and then on Sunday you have AC Milan, Roma. It's not a great weekend for matchups, to be honest, in the league, but that's a decent game. And then also, look, Sunday Manchester City Chelsea's a huge game in the FA Cup. Saturday in the FA Cup, you got 6 games at 7:30 in the morning. You got a bunch of games at 10 a.m. You got 4 games at 12:30, 1 game at 1, and 1 game at 3. So it's in the Premier League sometimes they'll have those windows. Here you got multiple games to choose in each window. The interesting game for me, we talked about this. You'll hear it tonight on ESPN. Coventry City's playing Wrexham. I don't know if you've watched Welcome to Wrexham at all, the show on FX or one of those things. The Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds team. They're in the 3rd round of this tournament, and they're battling right now in the National League. They're 2nd, I believe. But if they can go to Coventry City and win this and get to the next round, I think it's a TV game as well over there. So all of a sudden, they're making all this extra money coming in. But the big thing for them is they have to make it into the League 2 this year because that's where the money is. But yeah, look, it's there's some big games. Liverpool plays Wolves at 3. It's the late game on that day.
I think the big one on Saturday for me is or the one that looks interesting anyway is Crystal Palace versus Southampton right in the morning. Because if you're Southampton, you got to be looking at this game like a toss away. Like there's
you can't. You got to. I would throw the kids out, to be honest.
Yeah, there's no way you can pay attention in this game when you're literally bottom of the table now, 12 points. But all hope is not lost because, as we discussed yesterday, there's a slew of teams that are just all 17 points right around that mark. So this is a huge one for Southampton. They cannot focus on this game. If they do, then they're going to be in the championship next year. They can just throw away their season. But yeah, I think minus 120 for Crystal Palace at home against the Southampton team that, really can't come to play in this game. They shouldn't anyway. That's one I might look at. But again, I won't be betting it till 6:30 in the morning when I know who's playing in the game because it's so impossible with these cup matches. The only team actually I know is Man United today because you guys rested your starting defensive line. You're starting midweek. So now you got Varane and Lisandro Martinez coming back today. And then you have enough depth up in the attack. So, Man United, I think, will have a pretty strong lineup today.
I think they rotate strong today. On Tuesday, I think they go, because they're playing, Friday, I think they go pretty half and half, maybe strong against Charlton. Look, if you can't beat Charlton with some things, because they play Manchester City in the first game on Saturday, so that's 100% full strength. So I think here you have the chance over these next 2 games against Everton, who hopefully is resting starters, and Coventry or Charlton, who's a League One team, to maybe play a mix of teams, do enough to win the game. I don't need to see I'd love to see 6-0, but do enough, get to a semifinal, get to the 4th round, and then be ready to go in the league because you got Manchester City and Arsenal coming up. So that's going to be massive. They play City on the 14th of January. They play Arsenal on the 22nd. Still the only team in the league that has beaten Arsenal. So trying to do the double. And then you got February 4th, you got Crystal Palace at home. Then you got Leeds. Then you play in Europe. So, some big games. They're going to be able to rotate here. It sets up perfectly. I mean, it's great they put this game on Friday for us. I think it helped because they're in the EFL Cup semifinals or quarterfinals on Tuesday. So, but that's interesting. The other game, I think, Brentford West Ham is pretty interesting. You see what West Ham does. I think they could do the same thing. I don't think they need to be in 2 cup runs and trying to survive.
Plus the Conference League.
And then, and you also, you have Tottenham against Portsmouth. Tottenham should be able to put their backups out there and win. But, if they can, Tottenham has to prioritize. I mean, at some point you have to win a trophy, so I think Tottenham has to start prioritizing some of these cups. But at the same time, if you make a cup run and don't win and finish sixth, it's a disaster. So there's a balancing act.
Let me ask you guys: is there a dark horse, somebody that has the ability to knock off the big boys and win this tournament?
Let me see. What do we got for futures? I mean, maybe Newcastle. I mean, it's not really like. I mean, they're plus 1,200 odds right now. I mean, they could, but once again, I think they could at some point maybe start to prioritize the league. I think the Champions League is bigger for teams like that. But once again, if Newcastle lifts a trophy, it's good for the project. Chelsea is way down, but they've been in 5 of the last 6 finals. Not really a dark horse, but they're plus 1,600. If you're kind of looking down the list a little bit, I mean, maybe Crystal Palace could make a deep run. I mean, they've done it in the past. They got to the final in 2016. They lost in extra time to United. They've been to a couple semis since then. They're a team, maybe they could do it, maybe a Brentford, but I just think Brentford's going to be in trouble once Tony gets suspended. Maybe a Brighton. Outside of the things, I would say maybe Crystal Palace. A little bit further up in the odds, I'd say Newcastle at plus 1,200. Manchester United at plus 1,000. You're getting pretty good values if you throw City out. If you take anybody else, you're getting decent value. Arsenal is the best team in the league right now, apparently, but they're 7-1. It's tough because you have to win 64, so you can win 32, 16. I think you got to win 7 games, six games, I guess. Round of 64, round of 32, round of 16, round of 8, round of 4, round of 2. You got to win 6 games. So, and maybe I'm not sure if there's replays, to be honest. I think there could be, but it's tough. I mean, 6 games is tricky, and you're going to face, some of the it goes with the luck of the draw. Sometimes you get a little bit of an easier draw. I think sometimes these teams that make these deep runs have been blessed with some decent draws. Arsenal, Oxford United, Manchester United against Everton. Sometimes, these runs can be. You think a team is good, and then all of a sudden, they get a tough draw, and you're like, eh. That's why the futures for the Champions League are tough right now, because until you see, that quarterfinal, semifinal, final draw, it's just kind of have to see, who you have to go through. That's why Real Madrid was so, what they did last year was so impressive, because they went through Celta Vigo here. They went through all those teams. Bill, how are you doing? Celta Vigo over Elche. Yeah, look, I was looking at that last night because Joe Wiz asked me about it. Elche is terrible. When you look at, let me pull this up for you, Bill.
Save your money for tomorrow.
Right. Sometimes the best bet is the one you don't make.
Yeah, I looked at that game too, and I was like, why do I even want to bet this game?
Celta Vigo is not. They're on the road, right?
Yeah.
They have 1 win on the road. They have a minus 11 goal difference. Elche obviously is terrible. They haven't won a game. They have a minus 9 goal difference. It's not the worst play in the world,
but it's close.
It's plus money, so it's not bad. I like Valencia a little bit. I did look at that game against Cadiz. Cadiz on the road there, but I don't mind.
Cadiz.
I don't mind that game. I do like. You need to see what the lineups are here. If Everton plays a weak lineup, I would probably go Manchester United. Bill. Yeah, look, La Liga's it's an interesting league, Bill, but the teams at the bottom are just, the games aren't very good. if you get an early goal or something, it's not it's not my favorite play of the day, but I can make I make a case for it. But Manchester United today, if they play a strong lineup and Everton plays a weakened one, maybe I'd go 1.5 Manchester United. But that's probably the schedule today isn't great, to put it mildly. The Portugal, in Portugal, let me go back and look at that, because I think Portugal is pretty interesting. But you're going to get a crazy line here. Yeah. Benfica's minus 715, and I don't know if Enzo Fernandez is going to play because
they got slaughtered the other day by Braga.
Who, Benfica?
Yeah, and Enzo Fernandez was playing, and a lot of their starters were playing in that game. They got absolutely slaughtered.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Is that the toughest league to gauge whenever you're wagering?
Portugal? I mean, I followed a little because I traveled there. So, I've been there so much. The Casa Pia, I mean, really, it's just the thing is, you take these 3 teams.
Mm-hmm.
What happens there is so many of the little teams, Rio Ave is up in 7th. That's my, Chaves. The teams are reliant on these, Benfica, Porto. So it's Braga to an extent, but mostly Benfica and Porto for players. So what happens is when Braga or when Benfica plays whoever, Portimonense, and half their team is on the it has to sit out because they're on loan. They end up winning the game 5-0. And then, that when they play whatever, now they play Porto in 2 weeks, and it's a tough game because all those players are playing. So you kind of have, if you do your research a little bit and you figure out like which teams have what players on loan and stuff like that, you can kind of figure out where these 4 and 5-0 games are going to be. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to do, to be honest. Bill's asking about. Is it Bundesliga today, or what is that?
I honestly, I didn't even know there was German games.
It's probably, I don't even know. I have no idea.
I'm not sure there are.
The Bundesliga doesn't come back till the 20th.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
The Germans are like my Italians. They need
unless it's a friendly. It might could be a friendly.
That's true.
Oh, is it a friendly? Oh, okay.
It's a friendly. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, to be honest, Bill. I try to stay away from friendlies, to be honest. But the interesting thing is there's some PSG plays today in the Coupe de France, Château. They're probably minus $1 million in that game. I would be interested to see what that line is, to be honest. Just quickly, I'll look. Oh, minus 530. It's actually not terrible. I don't know who PSG is going to play in the game. You'd have to look and see what the lineups are going to be. I would imagine they would smoke this team -2, but you got to lay a decent. It's tough to lay -2 because now you need to win 3-0 or something like that, and you just don't know who's playing. So that's the problem with the cups in some of these leagues. But you got a team like Montpellier playing Pau. There's some games. It's a friendly. Yeah, I would probably target some of the cup games maybe instead of friendlies. There's a decent amount of games, but look, if I don't know, you might find out that I know it starts in 5 minutes. Like maybe there's news like somebody's not playing or something like this, or they're playing backups. The only problem with friendlies is every 30 minutes usually they change teams, so there's no rules. So you know, it's or 45 minutes. They're putting in the, you know, it's 11 players and 11 players. So it's a different thing because they're not really trying to win the game. They're working to get back in shape. That's the only thing I worry about in some of those friendlies. You see that sometimes when Manchester United comes over here in the summer and they're playing, you know, some MLS team or something like that, and they're like, "Oh wow, Manchester United tied some MLS team." It's just like, yeah, it's like, I don't care.
They tied the spring.
Yeah, it's just to get back in shape and stuff. So. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of wild. But so, all right, boys. You know, we have football tomorrow, the other kind, in the National Football League, and we got some games that certainly are going to take on some very interesting keys. The Ravens are not going to have Lamar Jackson for their game against the Steelers. And, you know, there's a bunch of different scenarios here. But tomorrow night, who would have thunk it? A 2-6 start for Jacksonville, and they win tomorrow, and they win the South.
Yeah.
And that's that's a primetime game.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. Maybe you know, the Titans are a mess. Their third string quarterback, and you know, they got blown out by the Jags the first time. These games are weird though because, you know, if everyone's kind of talking about how it's you know, the Titans have lost 6 and they're 6 in a row and whatever, but this is one game. I mean, it doesn't, you know, form guide kind of. I mean, you could use it to help guide you, but you know, it's one game, turnovers, all this stuff. I mean, Tennessee didn't really care about last week. They, you know, really as of 2 weeks ago, they knew this game was going to be it. So like, really, you know, you're focused on this game. So, you know, they just got to win one. You just have to show up for 3 hours. So if Derrick Henry goes out and runs for 300 yards, which probably won't because Jaguars defense is pretty good, and they don't, you know, they can't throw the ball, so they're going to be putting probably 9 in the box all the time. It'll be interesting, but you know, I'm glad they put it in the Saturday night window. I think that's, you know, it's good for, you know, especially if the Jaguars win. You know, if the Jaguars go 9-8, win the division and thing, I think you got to make a case that, you know, it's either him or the Giants guys coach of the year. I mean, there's nobody else. Urban Meyer, every day Urban Meyer looks worse and worse.
I'm with me. Not a fan.
I mean, you know, you know, it's really interesting. You know, I think this, you know, obviously they're building, and they're going to be, they could be a team that's a force in that division for a while. I think kind of Tennessee is, you know, always going to be half decent, you know, with Vrabel coaching and the way the organization is run. The Colts are a mess. Houston's a mess. Although if you put CJ Stroud on that team next year, I think Houston's going to be a lot better liked Jacksonville is. So yeah, I think Jacksonville's moving in the right direction. It's great. It's a pretty big game though. It's a good game to watch. So
it'd be fun. We did find out yesterday that the Bills and the Bengals will not make that game up. So how this affects the playoff picture is, let's start with the seeding in the AFC. The key here is the Chiefs have to win. If the Chiefs win, they are the number 1 seed. The Bills drop to 2nd. The best scenario, if you're Cincinnati, to get 2nd would be you need the Bills and the Bengals both to lose. I'm sorry, the Bills and the Bengals win, and the Chiefs lose to the Raiders. That gets Cincinnati into the number 2 spot. But right now,
Tennessee's not losing, so it doesn't matter. They're not
right.
losing.
Yeah, I mean, it's academic at this point, but that's the way it's playing out at this juncture.
Well, it's going to be I mean, the main thing is, it's neutral sites, which is that, I've been talking about that for 3 days, and we talked about it on the ESPN. Like, you can't have Kansas City playing at home against Buffalo in a potential AFC championship game just because they didn't play this game. So it's going to be at a neutral site, which I think is fair. I think, to be honest, the NFL should pay for the cost of all the fans traveling. I think, they it's kind of a, I don't think it's fair to have fans travel on their own dime because, they decided to whatever. So, look, if Kansas City wins tomorrow, it doesn't, they're the top seed. If Buffalo and Cincinnati both win, they're going to be, I guess, neutral site. I don't know if the neutral site will go back down to the for the second round game. It has to be approved by 3/4 the majority. I would imagine the NFL is telling these people, like, look, you have to do it. Suck it up. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, they could have, it's something that never, it's never happened before. It's happened, it obviously happened in soccer last year at the Euros or in 2021 in the Euros, and they played the game. I just think the NFL, they didn't really know what was going on. It was a Monday night game. It was such a, you didn't know, it was so interesting. So there's really no, like, people were saying they're going to move the playoffs to play this game. Well, you can't. Like, everything is on TV. You can't move stuff at this point. Well, logistically as well, you've got hotels. You've got you can't. There's nowhere to put these games. So you can't do that stuff. I mean, it's the best. It is what it is, and they make the best of it. And if you have to play. You play who you play, and if you're good enough, you keep winning. If you're not, if you're not, you make excuses. Jacksonville, if they lose, can still make the playoffs in the third wild card spot, assuming at that point the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers all have to lose. So Jacksonville could, if they lost to the Titans, and I don't think any of us think they will, but if they were, then they could still do it. But they need the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers to lose. Baltimore, is in the number 5 spot at the moment. They're the first wild card. They play this week against the Bengals. Chargers are the first wild card. Chargers are in 5th. Baltimore's in 6th. Right. Chargers win the tiebreaker over Baltimore based on conference winning percentage. Well, and honestly, in the AFC, if I'm thinking there might be an upset, and much like last year with regard to a surprise team making it, these Chargers are pretty damn good, and they're starting to they're getting good at the right time. Yeah, it's interesting though. They are. I don't trust the coach at all, and they would. If Jacksonville wins the division, Chargers would have to go to Jacksonville, which I think is an interesting game because Chargers do give up some points. Yeah. So that could be pretty interesting. If it turns out, if the Bills win and they finish 2nd and they have to face my choice would probably be the Dolphins. I think that would be interesting because they don't, it's a tough conference, division game. I would think Baltimore would face Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati wants any part of that game. So the playoffs in the AFC are set up pretty interestingly right now. The Eagles in the NFC, the Eagles, I can't imagine they're going to lose to the Giants. Giants aren't going to play anybody. They're locked into the 6th seed, so they're going to sit everybody out. Eagles will win that game easily. Well, that puts San Francisco in the number 2 slot. And, basically
they can get that. They can hold on to the number 2. Or
Yeah, that would be interesting though.
They could clinch a 1 seed.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think they get to 1 just because the Eagles thing, but the 49ers could go to Philadelphia and win if they had to. But the 49ers, if they may end up having a brutal game against the Packers. If the Packers win and Seattle doesn't, or a division game against Seattle, which is interesting. The Giants are going to play Minnesota. Great matchup for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And Dallas is going to have to go to Tampa, and Tampa's, that's going to be an interesting game to me because, Tampa could win that game. I don't, they've been so bad all year, but I'm interested to see how the actual schedule will play out because they have the Saturday, Sunday, Monday schedule now. So who they put in prime time on Saturday and Sunday and Monday. So who they put during the day. So I always like that stuff.
It's funny. The Buccaneers this week have been practicing running, of all things, something that 3 of us have said. They're running the 2-minute drill as their offense. We joked that early in the week that the Bucs would be served well if they came out on the field and there was the scoreboard read 4th quarter and they had 10 points behind, because that seems to be the only time they end up playing. So, but we'll see. I mean, Todd Bowles said he's not going to sit anybody, which makes sense given the fact that you need to get some momentum going into the playoffs. They play Atlanta, so you be the judge, boys and girls. It's not necessarily it's a game they should win, but there's been a lot of games they should win they didn't. So we do what we got to do. But that's that one. Again, the Steelers sit in a position where they could make the playoffs, and Mike Tomlin could be his streak of not losing in the playoffs. Not losing in the season would continue if they could get that win on Sunday. But lots of crazy. By the way, the TCU Georgia game, which is on Monday night, right now tickets are going for anywhere from $8,000 to $14,000.
TCU boosters, once in a lifetime.
Yeah. And our buddy, the Mattress Man, did you see that?
Yeah, he put the
Mattress Man
on the money line, right?
Yeah, he's on TCU.
That tells me, it almost makes me think Georgia's gonna win and maybe even cover, just because Mattress Mac, he got his Astros bet.
Yeah,
the biggest payout in like modern betting history. There's no way they're letting this guy cash another massive bet like that, because I think he's got some on the spread, but also a lot on TCU money line.
A lot of
to cover that. Yeah, and then he has the people buy the mattresses and all that stuff, and if they buy him and they get him, it's pretty cool because if they buy them, if TCU wins and they bought a mattress, they get it for free. Because he doesn't care at that point, because he just won millions on the thing. If you buy a mattress and Georgia wins, you got to pay for the mattress. So he loses the bet, but makes all the money from the mattresses.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't.
Yeah, he wins. It's a win-win, and he gets free advertising. The guy's a genius, man.
Yeah, and you know what?
Go one time, like, and it's just so smart, like how he does that with the Astros, because he's like, it's crazy. And so now at this point, he sells, like, people come from all over the place to buy these. Oh man, I get a free mattress. Like if the Astros win the World Series and stuff. So it's almost like you're gambling. But it's hola, made a troll. Can't read that. It's the people are gambling, but it's stuff that they need. So
Well, it's funny too because when he won the last thing, the Astros thing, I remember seeing a video of two of these the carts that you carry stuff in, like luggage carts that you see in hotels and things. He had two of them being wheeled out to a private jet, and you're sitting there going, "Okay, this is pretty amazing." But you got one guy that can move the line. I mean, the amount of money he puts down moves the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to remember he did lose his bet on the Bengals last year in the Super Bowl. So, or did he not lose that one? I thought he lost the Bengals bet.
I thought he had that. I thought it was the points.
Did he have the point? I don't even remember what the spread was in that one. I thought he also had a bit on the money line too, but
well, he didn't win as much. That was the thing.
Oh, okay.
He won, but he didn't win as much.
All right. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe you get a similar situation. Maybe TCU covers but loses the game here.
Right.
I don't know. When I saw him place that bet, I felt like it was a bad omen, especially right after cashing, the biggest payout in like modern betting history. Like, it just feels like he's not gonna do it again for this one anyway.
Back to back, that would be amazing.
Well, I just look at it like the books don't like to lose that kind of money. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I wonder if he sprinkles it around, or if it all goes to one book.
Goes to different books. I know that they have to spread it around a little bit. So I think he's got to go. He also, I think he needs to go. It's not far, but I think he's got to go to Louisiana to do it. To be honest, because there's no betting in Texas.
So he goes to the casinos in Louisiana to make the bets. So he spreads it around Louisiana.
Yeah, I forget who he did it with in the when he did the Astros.
Caesars.
Caesars. Oh yeah, maybe BetMGM. I forget. But I know he has to spread it around a little bit, and it's separate bets too. It's like because he's got it at different prices. So I know with the Astros, he kind of let it averaged out to 75 million on 10 million bet. But it was different. Like some prices were plus 800, some were plus 600, some were plus 650. So what it averaged to was plus 750.
I was looking here for Mattress Max and see what he's got going here.
Specials you can get on a new mattress.
Yeah. Amedeus just got a Twitter message saying I'm supposed to tell you that Vincent Abubakar looks like he's coming to Manchester United.
That's what I like to see. You guys are gonna get maybe a solid goal scorer.
It's interesting. I saw him a bunch when because I've been to a lot of Porto games over the years, and he played up front for Porto for a while, and I just people they kind of just didn't take a chance. Porto's a big team. They've won 2 European Cups, but it's interesting that a team didn't. And the other interesting thing is that it's all happening because Cristiano Ronaldo can't sign with Al Nassr. He can't be registered until one of the foreign players leaves. So it's either United or Fenerbahce at this point now. If he chooses Fenerbahce over United, he's got some issues. But he's the kind of guy that comes in and he's the type of player. He holds the play up. I mean, it's a stopgap, yes, but if you can get him for 18 months and he can score some goals in the FA Cup, come off the bench when you need him, and it looks like João Felix might be coming now as well. Those are two kind of players that help Manchester United at this point. So big news. And the craziest thing about all this other stuff that's going on with everybody's asking me about the Glazers and the ownership because my guy Patron, who helps me get tickets when I go to Manchester United, tweeted out last week that Amargal Football, which is my Twitter and website, for news. I don't really post on there much, but usually just use my Twitter page. That Dubai and Qatar were in, and then all of a sudden in the last week, like all this news broke about this stuff, and we broke it first. So it's like I'm getting about 1 million followers a day. Here, crazy.
It's just for a quick second on Mattress Mac. He's put down 1.5 on the money line. So if he were to win, it'd be 5.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if he loses, it'd be losing $1.5 million. So
it would be losing like a very slim percentage of what he won from the Astros if
right.
he
Yeah. I wonder if he bets props. I mean, it doesn't say.
I mean, it's a good question because maybe he's obviously
it's not like he's shy to bet.
So he could. You don't know what he does in his spare time, right? Like maybe he's just watching every NFL weekend, put Derrick Henry to score a touchdown. Gave me $500K on Henry.
Right. I imagine when those books see him coming in, they're like, "Oh God, no, no,
not this again. Keep your money. We don't want it."
Like the Sting, where they walk in and go, "I'm sorry, we can't cover the bet." So that's pretty wild. And by the way, guys, if you're interested in buying a mattress, you can go to Houston and get Mattress Mac's deal. If you want. So crazy stuff. Do you see any upsets this week in the NFL? The Chiefs are going to win. I think it's going to be chalk pretty much.
Let me pull this up. I think the Browns beat the Steelers. Okay. I think that's a slight upset. I don't think it is, to be honest. I talked about this once again too. We talked about this on ESPN. If Watson plays the whole year, the Browns are in the playoffs. They're the standings right now. If they beat the Steelers, they finish 8-9. It's not hard to imagine that they would have 2 more wins. I mean, they were terrible in the first. They lost 4 games in a row here. They lost by a point to the Jets. They lost by 3 points to the Falcons. They lost by 2 points to the Chargers. They lost by 3 points to Baltimore. They played well against Buffalo. If you flip 2 of those, they're 10-7. They're probably in the playoffs. I don't think that's a stretch. So I think this Browns team is playing better. I don't think the Steelers every game. I mean, they're losing every game, and then in the last 5 minutes they score 2 touchdowns or something.
Right.
They haven't been great. I think that's a really low-scoring game. I think the Browns, Molly, Roy, Joa, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. I think that's a game that could be an upset. I don't see the Chiefs and the Jaguars will both win Saturday. I think the Bengals will win easy. The Ravens aren't playing anybody. The Panthers and Saints, nobody cares. The Colts and Texans. I can't imagine the Texans are going to try to win that game now. They got the top pick. If they lose that, the Bears could get it. The Vikings, I don't even know why they play anybody in that game because the 49ers are going to annihilate the Cardinals. Nobody's playing for the Cardinals in that game. Tampa and Falcons, nobody cares. The Dolphins line is moved now to -2. They were +1, so that line's moving like crazy towards the Dolphins. The Cowboys, I can't imagine they lose to the Commanders. The Chargers, Broncos. It only matters, I guess, if the Ravens win, which they probably won't. I can't see the Rams beating the Seahawks. Which is going to be tough for the Lions. I think the Lions got screwed. These 2 games should have been at the same time because if Seattle wins, the Lions are out, and that's not fair to the Seahawks or the Packers. It's clear they want the Packers in the playoffs.
Right.
And the Giants have no chance. The only game really, you know, if the Seahawks lose, you know, I don't think the Lions are going to win that game. But so really, the only game I think could be an upset is the Browns and Steelers. And to be honest, I don't even really think it's that much of an upset. It only is right now on the line because, you know, the Steelers still have a chance to make the playoffs. But you know, I would take a chance on the money line. That's about it. I mean, other than that, it's going to be.
I would go the under on that game.
Yeah, the under. The only thing too, like these games means, like all these games mean stuff, you know, for the Bengals and the thing, but it only means stuff from one side, and like, you know, the Patriots Bills
have to win.
Yeah, Patriots and Bills mean stuff for both, but you know, the Bills aren't losing that game. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's, you know, now that he's back. He's kind of awake, and Hamlin's, you know, awake and kind of saying, asking about if we won the game and stuff like that. Even he was like dying in the hospital just about, and he wanted to know if they won the game. Like that's all. Like
first question.
Yeah, did we win the game? And he wrote it out, and it's just like, you know, he's probably mad they didn't play. So
hopefully no one's mentioned it to him yet.
I mean,
yeah, look, he's the you know, he's their leading tackler. Look, I mean, they're gonna have, you know, he'll be back at some point, and you know, just because of, you know, hopefully, you know, Christian Eriksen. Look, he had the same, you know, he had the
right.
It's not like it's cardiac arrest. It's not a heart attack. It's not like from blockages or whatever. It's because like the supposed
erratic rhythm.
Yeah, it's the electrical impulses from your body and stuff. So, you know, Eriksen plays now for United. So, you know, maybe if that was the case, maybe someday he'll be able to get back on the field. I don't know if he will, you know, because it's an impact sport and stuff like that. But, you know,
normally you see the problem in amateur baseball because they use aluminum bats, and you know, you see guys get like a third baseman get hit with a line drive, and down they go, and it just happens. Now, according to statistics that they were running the other day, said that you're actually more likely to get hit by lightning than this happening to you. So
yeah, it's, you know, you hope he's, you know, I mean, look, I'm sure, like, you know, you hope he's fine, and you know, everything. He's, you know, maybe he doesn't play, but maybe becomes a cold. You know, I don't know how it's going to work, but you know, that's down the road. He's got to get better first. But I don't. Other than the Bengals or the Browns Steelers game, I don't see any. It looks like the easiest slate of games ever. You know, to be honest, you know, I'm in one of those pools where you pick all the games as like. The only game you might decide it is that one. So,
we spoke yesterday about tennis, and in the semis at Adelaide, it's going to be Medvedev and Joker. That's a pretty good game. Or match, I should say, matchup of stars. Those guys have played each other more than a few times.
Yeah, look, I once again, I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of the, you know, I don't watch the. So I don't watch the stuff in between, but I like the tennis, the majors and stuff. So the Australian Open one is to me is pretty cool because it's, you know, it's, I'm always trying to figure out, like, it's like Sunday, it's like Monday there, and it's like it's just so it's like hard to figure out the time.
Yeah, they're
far ahead
for 11 hours.
Yeah, it's so far ahead, and just like, but you know, they play, you know, it's so they play the things at night, and sometimes the day ones are at night here, so you got stuff to kind of watch.
Right, you end up watching, if you're watching the Australian Open, you're up at 3:45 in the morning watching tennis.
That's going to be the issue. I'll tell you, that's going to be an issue for the Women's World Cup. I mean, people were talking about that, like, oh, you're going to do the same thing for the Women's World Cup. And I'm like, listen, I will not be up at, 3:45 in the morning.
Right. For those early kicks.
Yeah, because the games we talked about it. The top 4, top 8 teams. It's like the UEFA Champions League with the elite teams are always going to win like 6-0. But the Australian Open it's the rugby is the same. The NRL, I like the NRL. I like the Australian football. But sometimes it's just I used to wake up in the morning and it's 6 and it would be still on. I might sleep with my TV on and it would be on live at 5:36 in the morning. So you're kind of getting ready to start your day, and I'm watching a little rugby, watching a little Australian rules. That'll be back in the next 3 or 4 next 2 months. Games come back, and I just it's just something interesting. And obviously Joker, the fact that I can't imagine if he's going to go and just annihilate everybody just for making a miss.
Waste.
Yeah. And the way they embarrassed them, to be honest. And now it's, it turns out that,
Well, Amedeus and I were saying yesterday, Sean, that the last thing you want is a pissed off Novak Djokovic. And he's pissed off and he's playing like, okay, I'm ready. It took him an hour and 55 minutes yesterday to dismiss Lucas. And now he's got Medvedev. And look, Medvedev is not a bad tennis player. But up against a pissed off Djokovic, this probably is not the, it's Adelaide and there's still one other before they get to to Melbourne. But it's definitely Joker versus the field.
Well, you know what? I'm looking at this semifinal game, and it looks more like a finals here, Djokovic and Medvedev, because the winner of that one is going to end up playing either Sebastian Korda or Yoshito Nishioka. So, like, this
is the final.
Yeah, that's not going to be a great final. I mean, good on those two players, but neither one of them is going to beat Djokovic.
Medvedev and Joker in the same
bracket. I know. Yeah, no, it makes no sense. I guess, and that happens a lot too, right? Like you look at a game and it's the semifinals, and you're like, okay, this is the finals. Right. I know whoever wins this one goes on to win. Like that's actually almost how I felt in the World Cup about the France-England match. I was like, I really think whoever wins this one is probably going to go on to win. Obviously, France ended up in the finals and didn't win it, but. I don't know. Yeah, we'll put that World Cup away for now.
But Medvedev and Joker in a semifinal, that's you're right. That's you usually see the finals with those two guys.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this United Cup tournament, and like you look at the semifinals there. It's Hurkacz and Taylor Fritz, and then the other one is Tsitsipas and Berrettini. Any one of those guys would be better in the other semifinal for this Adelaide tournament. So
that's nuts.
Yeah.
So, well, we don't get to control who plays who.
No, I know they decided to go play in the United Cup. That's okay. I don't know. Where is the United Cup?
No idea.
Because I was going to say, like, if it's not in Australia, not a very smart move 9 days before the first major of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get acclimated to that
Brisbane
time difference.
Brisbane.
Okay, so
not too far.
It's
away.
actually it's in Brisbane. It's in Brisbane, Sydney, and Perth. So
really?
maybe it's all over It's all over. It looks like.
It looks that way. Yeah.
At least it's in the country. I was gonna say like you can't ask these players to come over, and you got 9 days to get acclimated to the weather, the time difference. Isn't it like 1 day for every hour of jet lag you have? So
well, if that's the case, they should have been there a while.
Yeah, it'd be like 2 weeks.
Look, I have a little way to get, when I fly over, I don't usually get jet lag coming back. It's when you fly over, when you go forward.
Yeah.
I just stay up.
I do the same thing. I mean,
you stay up as
I've been trying to get to a
land
regular bedtime.
if I land at 7 a.m., I just try to stay up the rest of the day and then go to sleep at 9 o'clock, whatever. Then you're back on normal time. Next time I fly, I'm going to try to maybe fly and land at 8:30 p.m. in London, so then I could just go to sleep, when I get there or whatever. But we'll see how that works. But
For some reason, every time I go at night and end up there in the morning.
Yeah,
it's like the red eye. You get into. Remember, we got into Paris a couple years ago, and it was 8:30 in the morning. By the time we got to the hotel, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you're fully awake. You've been up all night anyway, so you try to push it a little further, like you said. But it's. Are you looking forward to hitting that travel again? I mean, it's been a while.
Me, it depends. I want to go for 6 weeks. I don't think I can, but I'm just trying to figure out when the best time to go. Maybe I'll have to go, come back, and then go again. But we'll see. Yeah, definitely. I want to get to some games. So,
there you go. All right. Any final questions from the gang? I don't see anything. Okay, boys. How about a prediction? Any prediction you want? Bold prediction for this weekend. Something that you definitely want to see and see happen.
Chelsea beats Manchester City in the cup.
Okay.
They might. It's not so far fetched. I would like to see Real Madrid get back to normal and just blow out Villarreal like 3-0. None of this score 2 goals in the last 10 minutes of the game after 0-0 for 80 minutes. I don't want to see that.
I'm going to go with watching Joker win straight sets over Medvedev. Not going to happen, but
Medvedev. It seems like he's always got this mental block when he plays Djokovic, especially like that one year where he was basically the only guy challenging him when Djokovic almost won the Grand Slam, because it was Medvedev who took him down in the U.S. Open. Right. So, I don't know. He's always got like this mental block against, and tennis is a big mental game.
Right. You can see Djokovic just lay his racket on the court and Medvedev miss it. So yeah, there's that. But I'm going to go with that one. I'm not going to be up at 3:30 in the morning to watch it, but yes, absolutely. That'll be the way that goes. So, all right, folks, it's been a pleasure. Another week in the books, and we will be back with you on Monday. We'll talk what happened over the weekend, and also there's a college football game that night. We'll, take a look at how TCU and Georgia are matching up. Okay, so until that time, for Sean, Amedeus, and myself, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday.